Welcome into the Harvest, friends. We are here to bring you the confidence and clarity that you need to be a disciple and make disciples in the everyday places of life. I'm Abigail, and I'm here with my co-host Keith, and it's just the two of us today.
It's
So
just
that'll
the
be
two,
fun.
right?
Just the two of us. I cannot seem to get my two co-hosts together in one place, so
Yeah, no, he must
it's
be in
going to be
Texas
fun.
again, right? Andrew's in Texas. Or, I think he's in
We don't know
Kentucky this
where he
time.
is.
So,
Yeah, he's somewhere. He's
yeah.
really gotten traveling, but it's going to be a great show. I'm super excited, and we're just going to jump right in to our listener question of the week. All right, so um, the question is, when going to work every day, how can a person be intentional about witnessing to coworkers? So this
Mm,
is a great question, and I think you probably have the best point of view on this, Keith. So I'm going to
hmm
let you start off.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, Travis. I like that question a lot, and I think same thing off the top of my head is you're kind of playing a long game, you know. So if you think of it as like a sports analogy, it's like almost a fast sport like football where every play is go go go, hurry offense, hurry up and score. And then baseball is a lot slower, you know, get on base. A pitcher and a batter can go back and forth. And I think when it comes to work and being a witness, it's a lot of baseball. Like it's going to take a lot longer and you're going to have to be a lot more diligent. Like people are going to observe you on a basis. And when you get that opportunity, then you can, you know, kind of score. So me and my work, my part-time job, I'm at the Navy Exchange and I don't get to interact with my coworkers a whole lot. But they get to see me and how I interact with others and how I carry myself, and that's important because when we have that 10 minutes in the break room and we got an opportunity to talk, they can kind of lead the conversation and ask questions like, "Hey, you seem to be upbeat most of the time. Why is that?" Or "I see you engaging with a lot of folks at the barbershop. Like, why is that?" You know, and it's almost like they're tossing me a good pitch. You know, so I got to just be ready to get it going. So I think instead of doing like the hurry up offense, the quick, hey, here's my gospel spiel. Like I want to make sure I'm living it out so that when I get an opportunity, we're at a group function or something like that, I'm ready to try to capitalize on it. So I think that's been the best way I've tried to witness at work.
Cool. So how have you had people actually come and ask you questions?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. We
Yeah.
and it's funny because my demographic at work is a bunch of some of them are mostly like older ladies who've worked at the Navy Exchange for almost literally longer than I've been alive, you know. So they're, they're very observant, you know. So I think the biggest question is that you're usually upbeat, you're usually smiling, like you
Hmm.
seem like a good person, like what's up, you know, like what's up.
Yeah, that's
So
cool.
yeah.
It's really cool. Well, I have not been in like a official workplace in a really long time, so I can't perfectly speak to this. But
hmm
as often I do here on this podcast, I like to use my husband as an example. And I do know that Brett has a list of people that he works with pretty closely, and he prays for them a lot. And he kind of just goes by the Holy Spirit as far as if someone's laid on his mind, like, hey, maybe you should talk to this person. And he usually starts his conversations off with, hey, man, like, how can I pray for you? Like, I'm really trying to spend more time in prayer. And, we've had miracles happen in our lives. And I would love to pray for a miracle in your life. And so that has been a good conversation starter that's not it's more focused on them. They get to respond and talk. It's not like him just like splurting out his testimony.
hmm
So I think that's been a pretty effective way to start like some spiritual conversations with a lot of people. And he too works with a lot of people from all demographics
hmm
and ages. So it can be pretty interesting just to see the responses. But I also think that people tend to notice that there's something different about you. So I do like that it's important to be ready to, give a witness, so to speak,
Yeah.
of why you're upbeat or why you're, more patient or why you don't swear or why you don't talk bad about your spouse or your boss or whatever else. I think it's good to just be ready to know what you would say. And then I think it's really important to just be praying for those people, and have a heart that they do meet Jesus. So by praying for them, I think that really does open more opportunities to be intentional. So hopefully that helps. Travis, thanks so much for the question.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
as always, if you have a question that you would like for us to try to answer, you can email us at intotheharvest at info. There we go.
Yeah.
At info@intotheharvest.org, or you can message us on Facebook or Instagram. You can send us a DM and we will get on it. So thanks so much. And we will now head into our main topic of the day. Okay, so our main topic today is really fun. Keith and I wanted to do something a little different since it's just the two of us and Andrew's not here, and he really is the one who keeps us in check. So we thought we'd have some fun, and we're actually taking an article that Andrew wrote several years ago, actually. I cannot believe that Into the Harvest has been around this long.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he wrote a really cool series. If you haven't checked it out, he wrote a series where he went through the different decades of life, and talked about the pitfalls and the things that kind of can get in the way of following Jesus in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond. So it's a pretty cool series. You can look it up on our website. But Keith and I reread the 30's article this week because we're both in our 30s, and we thought that we would go through it a little bit. We'll try to leave a link in the show notes, so if you want to read it yourself, you can. And we're just going to kind of go through it today. We sort of went through it with the eyes of like, what are the things that we see as struggles in our own lives and maybe the people around us, and then kind of go through the things that Andrew gave as good ways to protect ourselves. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Should we get started? Let's do this. Okay, so the first thing is he kind of listed some struggles that people in their 30s often fall into. And they were like, we have greater responsibility. We have probably some misplaced ambition, keeping up with the Joneses. No offense to Keith, that's his last name. And then debt. So those were like the big things that can kind of be the pitfalls in the 30s. So Keith, did anything just jump out at you here?
Yeah, I mean, goodness, really all of them. I liked your expression about keeping up with the Joneses too. And here we are on a podcast exposing our age, So Andrew's very tactical.
So let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and tell everybody that I feel like this is also perfect because Keith is like barely in his 30s. He's a baby.
Just started, right?
And I'm at the very end of the 30s. So, so that's just a little like, we're just going to lay the groundwork there. So yeah, Keith, you've just been in it for like, what, 2 years?
Yep.
2 years of the 30s. How do you feel like you're doing?
31, guys, 31 if you were ever curious. I'll be 32 in August, so climbing the ladder.
I'm sorry I rounded up for you.
It's okay, so Andrew, way to not be here, because nobody knows how old you are, I know. But so I think the greater responsibility is probably a big one too. In the last several years, I got married, inherited 2 lovely kiddos, had a kid of our own, got a kid on the way, bought a house, obviously balancing the 2 jobs, being in part-time ministry and then working a part-time job. So the greater responsibility is very humbling and sobering, and it's beautiful because this was something I looked forward to in my life for a very long time. So to be here now is very unique, but like you said, like the responsibility side of it is sometimes challenging. And then the misplaced ambition, I still enjoy so many things. I still got so many mountains that I literally want to climb, but you almost have to, what do you think, put a lid on that a little bit? So it's not like, I can't do, my capacity is not as much as it used to be because I have a greater responsibility. And then the last point was talking about debt. And I was talking about like one, financial debt, just being at this stage in your life, but also time debt, like you're being pulled in so many different directions that you literally just don't have as much time as you used to. So I would say we're
Yeah.
starting out with a bang, Abby. It's been an adjustment. I mean, a great learning experience. Like I feel like I'm so thankful to God to be out of my 20s, to be at this season to where things are changing, and people respect your age a little
Yeah.
bit more when you're in your 30s. They're like, "Oh, you're 30, so you're not
Oh,
20 anymore."
oh
So
man, that's hilarious for you to even say being so much older. But sure, yes, absolutely. You're so old now, very mature.
yeah.
And I do feel like you really did just take a running leap
Oh yeah.
into a new season of life. So I do
Mm-hmm.
think you're like really perfect at looking at these things because they really just happened to you like in an
Right.
instant. You
Right.
just had, particularly just all the responsibility. And I think the ambition part is more in line with the world tells us that we should always be on like an upward
Oh yeah.
trajectory, right?
Oh yeah.
Like we should always be looking for like advancement in our career,
True.
and just social media has all these influencers telling us what we should buy and how we should look, and
Yeah.
so there's a lot of just outward sources telling us what will make us happy, and and how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for us in the 30s, it has definitely been an interesting journey in that we didn't fit that mold very well.
Right.
We actually looked for jobs where we would have more free time.
Mm.
And Brett has turned down job opportunities because they didn't allow us the time in ministry, or they took us away from ministry that we felt was really important. And I'm not going to say that was just easy. I mean, I think that takes a little bit of prayer and like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, really soul searching, I guess. And I too, like, I think you and I both, probably the misplaced ambition is probably you and I, like, we probably struggle with that the most.
Mm-hmm.
We're both Enneagram threes. So we like, we're like always looking up. And I really vividly remember, and it was like kind of one of my most dramatic, like God moments. I was like on the floor, like having to like give up to God, like all my ambition,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no room for it.
Right.
There's
Right.
no room for ambition when you're raising kids or you want
Yep.
to do hands-on discipleship ministry. There's just
Yep.
like literally no time. So,
Yep.
but it was harder than I thought it was going to be.
Sure.
So anyway, and then we also, I think I don't want to leave out the debt part. I think that also ties in. You talked about time debt, which is interesting,
Mm-hmm.
which is different from financial debt.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think those both play a real like pitfall in this season of life?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I got both, man. We just closed on a home here in
I
California, so you can
know.
imagine it was more than a half a million, and I'm
Oh my
obviously
gosh.
not a millionaire, so you can you can do the math, I guess. But yeah, I think just because the debt with the financial debt, I think our mindset is to work harder, like to keep pushing, to push forward, and think back to Adam way back when God told him, "Be fruitful, multiply, rule the earth, and subdue it." So all of us have this divine DNA to conquer and to do. So yeah, when you got debt and when you got financial struggles, you want to keep pushing, like you want to work your way out of that. So then that takes away from sometimes the more important things, because you get on that hamster wheel. So it's been interesting to try to balance out the two. And like, thankfully, God's faithful. He's been faithful to deliver when we need to, and to teach me a lot about pace and how to balance that. But I do think they coincide for sure, Abby. I'm not sure if that looked different for you, but
Yeah, I mean, I think I see it a lot more in my in people who are also in this season of life, like play dates and stuff.
mm,
The moms will talk about like, so do you think you're going to be living in your house like a long time, or are you guys are gonna? And I know they're meaning like, are you going to upgrade? And
oh
I'm like, I am pretty sure we're here. Like, this
yeah,
is where
yeah,
we're gonna live. Like,
right. It's worked.
I mean, I know I have like a super sweet 1970s bathroom, but you know what?
Same.
It's it's pretty cool up in there. But I think that the debt piece is particularly hard for just Americans
Mm-hmm.
or just Westerners in
Yeah.
general. And there's just a constant, what does success look like?
Mm-hmm.
And if we haven't already had success, maybe in our jobs, then we can just go into debt, right? We can just put that on a credit card or get a car note or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a lot to be said for just the company we keep. So this is going to segue us really well into the next part of the article, which was about ways to prevent these pitfalls that we all struggle with. Keith and I do. So
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate Andrew kind of going into some of the things that we can do to help us in these kind of these issues that we're going to face. And I think particularly thinking about you and I and just all the things that we're keeping juggling up in the air, trying to do ministry. And a lot of the people listening, I know you are all trying to have jobs and families and then
Mm-hmm.
also be in the harvest places. And we
Right.
give you all major props. So this is probably fits most in the greater responsibility category.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the things that he said were to stay committed in fellowship and to stay in the word daily. So do you think that those two things have been harder, easier as you've kind of had your little dip into the 30s?
I think both, and if that makes sense, I think it's harder
Yeah.
in the sense that after doing it for a while, it kind of becomes routine, you know. So you're almost looking for uh, something to mix it up or to keep it fresh. And but then I think it's easier because of the need, you know. The
Mm-hmm.
kids get up super early now, and then some days I work early or I have an early appointment, like a 101 or something like that. So it almost forces me to get out of bed early if I'm going to spend time with God because I know that the day is going to get rolling, you know. And then I've observed myself on and off the word, if that makes sense. Those times when I'm not spending time with God and His Word, and I'm not praying and really seeking His face. And I know those two people. I'm familiar with them both, and I don't love the guy who's not spending time with God, who's not consistent in the Word, and I don't love
Yeah.
the husband I am or the father I am. And I'm not saying that I can't function and like go through the motions, you know. But yeah, my heart's in it when I'm relying on God and His resources, and my mind's in it. I'm a lot more sharp. I'm a lot more gracious in my responses and patient. And yeah, you just glean things from the Word that really are timely, that keep you going. So I think it's harder in the sense that I have to make time and make sure I'm on top of it. But it's easier because I need it almost more than ever now with everything going on.
Yeah. If you go back and you read Andrew's article on the 20s, it's really convicting actually, because if you came to be a believer or you really started following him, more full on later in life, then you can kind of say like, oh man, I really wish I'd been a follower of Jesus in the 20s because it's the time to maybe start those really great habits. So if
Yeah,
you're younger and listening to this, like, this is still really for you. In fact, we're just giving you like warning that this is coming
for real.
your way.
We got
And
20
so
year
it's a
olds that listen to this podcast, 20s, leave some comments. I want to hear
I
from you
think
guys. How
so.
you doing, man? How
I
you
know. I mean, how are you? Are you okay? Yeah, real side note, we have started having some younger peeps come to our church, and I just realized the other day that they could technically be my children. So that
Oh
was a real rough
wow.
moment for me as a
Wow.
person. But it also really explained why I felt like very maternal to them and like wanted to feed them really
Mm,
badly and like take care of
mm-hmm.
them.
That's fair. Yeah, that's
Okay,
fair.
side note.
Side note.
But I do think that setting those habits really firmly in your 20s can be super helpful.
Mm,
But I was real shook when I hit the 30s and had kids and had just all the extra things that we were doing really start getting in the way of that time. And I really did have to be much more intentional about it. It didn't just like I could get up and have like a leisurely coffee and then just like have a quiet time for like
uh-huh.
several hours. Like now it is a scheduled event of
Right.
my day. And
Right.
like you said, if I don't do it, then we can all tell.
Yep.
I would like to say only I can tell, but no, we can all tell.
Hey, that's
So
a
I
good
think
point. Yeah,
being
that's a good point. That's fair.
being in the word is probably the number one. But I think probably secondary to that maybe second, I don't know. We don't have to rank them,
Yeah.
but is just being in community that is supportive
Mm-hmm.
of this
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle. It doesn't have to be a big community. It doesn't have to be a lot of people. It can just be just one person ahead of you on this journey or just
Mm-hmm.
next to you, is just super, super helpful. And realizing the bad influences that we have. Because I'm pretty ambitious, I've had to, unfortunately, like block people that have like some of the cool like life events that
Mm-hmm.
I attain to. And I've had to like put those on the altar myself. And so a helpful thing for me to do is to then not have to observe other people's, like, I guess that's just me being I can't think of the word.
Mm-hmm.
What's the Ten Commandments that I should not be
Covetings.
coveting? Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It gets me
So
too sometimes.
so
Yeah.
I think that's kind of helpful. That's not really like my community necessarily, but it's keeping
Yeah.
me from kind of entrance into a community that's not going to help me in any way. And so I think finding the right friends, finding the right group of people that are going to spur you on
Mm-hmm.
to the right things, is really helpful, versus the people who are like, are you making, 7 digits or something? I don't know.
Wait, so have you given up keeping up with the Joneses? Is that like not an ambition anymore? Like, are we quitting that?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
We
I
got
think we're
blocked.
not
We
going to
got
keep it.
blocked.
I'm not going to keep up with you anymore. No, you're the one exception.
Okay.
You're the
All right.
one
Sick.
Joneses that I'm going to keep
Jones
up with.
family
By the
report.
way, is that the name of your newsletter? Because it needs to be if it's not. Is
Joan,
that like you could
keeping up with the
keeping up
Joneses.
with the Joneses?
It has not been, but
Gosh,
I would. We're
please go
due.
change
We're
that.
due, and everything's done. So that's my next big goal. Thank you for that
But just change
inspiration
the
right there.
title to
Keeping up with
Keeping Up
them.
with the
That's got to be
Joneses.
such
I feel
click.
like,
That's yeah. That's
oh
it.
my gosh, please do that. Okay. All right. Andrew's not here to keep us on track, so I'm glad I got to add that in. But I guess one last thing before we go on, there were a couple of like quotes that I really loved from Andrew's
Mm-hmm.
article, and I just want to hit on those real fast. One of them was, if your life looks like the people around you, that's a big yellow flag.
Ooh.
This was super great. And I don't think this fits into the whole community thing. Like if you're in
Mm-hmm.
good community, then maybe it should look like the people around you.
True.
But I think he meant more like in culture. So if your life looks like the rest of American 30 or something culture, then that's a big yellow flag.
Yep.
That's super good.
Right.
So just take that in, everybody. And then the other thing, so see, this is like having Andrew here on the podcast.
We got
The
us
other thing
raised.
that he said that I really liked was learning to say no, which is something that I am in my latter half of my 30s. I'm just learning to do. This is super hard. And it says that there's a dark side to influence and opportunity. And I thought that was a really good word for me personally in my current season. I'm not great with saying no, not great to even to good opportunities. Sometimes we need to say no to them. So we're just like shooting this out to the rest of you. This is convicting to me. I don't know how Keith feels, but if you needed to hear that as well, like you're also on this journey with us here in the 30s. Then
Yep, saying no. I think I'm better than I was in my 20s, to be completely honest.
yeah.
But
Oh yeah, I bet so.
lifelong struggle right there, because especially when you got feelings too. When you got feelings and you tell people no,
Oh,
it's a
Keith
dangerous
has
combo.
feelings. Oh man. I don't even have feelings and it's hard. So I can't even imagine what it must be like for you who have feelings. That's funny. Well, that's why it's good Andrew's not here, because he doesn't have any feelings.
Nope.
And he would just be able to say no problem. But we really can appreciate how everyone else is doing in that department. I read the book Boundaries this year. It was super helpful on this particular issue. And there's a couple of great questions in that book that I've started to just ask before we say yes to things. And it's been really, really helpful. All that to say, I am in the very latter half of my 30s and I'm just now getting it. So this is a journey. We're all on it. And it's fun talking about it today. We'll check back in with you a little later in your 30s, maybe we'll have another episode like this.
Exactly.
See how
That'd be
Keith's
cool.
doing. If he has any gray hairs yet. Okay, so that was really a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do it again soon on this topic. So we're gonna head into our next segment. Our next segment is the faith and culture portion of our show, where we talk about something going on in culture today and how it can relate to our faith. Today we have a real fun one.
Oh yeah.
And that is, we're going to talk about the vaccines.
Hey, the vaccines.
Once again, we need one of those horns, like the wah, wah, wah. Yeah. Man, where are our sound effects?
Right.
Okay, so I think we're just going to kind of come at this from the perspective of when this is just brought up in everyday conversation, which I was literally at the grocery store today waiting on rotisserie chickens, and this old guy came up next to me and we had a whole little chat about vaccines. So
Wow.
this is a very relevant topic because it really does come up a lot. So hopefully, we can give some insights of how we can meld this with our faith today.
Yeah, Abby, I like this topic a lot because I know it's not an easy one, but that's the point of our faith and culture section. It's something that's relevant, and this has been going on for, what do you think, almost half a year pretty much of waiting on
I
a
guess so.
vaccine, anticipating it being developed, and then also launched, and here we are, and as the CDC putting out more guidance on masks and who can do what, especially with the vaccines, and it's pretty hilarious to see commercials now like advertising like life with the vaccine. I think that part kind of makes me laugh a lot, But anyways, as believers, like how do we approach it? Because we don't have anything to compare it to from the scriptures, in my opinion. Like we don't have that kind of modern medicine in the scriptures, but as believers, we're pretty opinionated about what should and shouldn't be done about the vaccine, and so I'm curious to hear about your thoughts, Abby, and just how we should respond. And I know you had a conversation with that guy recently, but like how do you tactfully get around that?
Yeah, as delicately as possible. In fact, I'm going to just try to do it here today too, where, we're not going to tell you whether Keith and I are vaccinated. And that's literally my example to all of you is I think it's, unless somebody just straight up asks me, and then I will 100% tell you where I stand personally. I really try to be as ambiguous as possible, but not in like a mysterious, like trying to be, I try to get around it in any way. But I just think that this fits into a very similar category as our conversations about politics, that there's not a clear winner here. To me, there was not a clear yes or no answer, and it was very much person by person basis. And so I never want something like a vaccine to get in the way of a relationship with a person, and particularly a relationship that might lead for them to have a relationship with Jesus. So to me, it's being very, very careful to not make this any kind of an idol one way or the other, either to not have the vaccine or to have it. This is not something that we see clearly in the Bible. I personally don't think that this is the mark of the beast, so we can just go ahead and say that this is instead a scientific matter. So this is a scientific issue, and this is a medical issue that you personally need to decide for yourself. I will tell you that, and within Christian culture, like within our Christian community here, a few months ago, I was texting back and forth with a girl in our church, and she was going back and forth about what to do about the vaccine. And I started in, I had written this long text, different, here's pros and cons, because I'm a real pro-con list, you guys. Boy, did I make a pro-con list on the vaccine. But I'd had it all, and I was texting her, and I was and then you should maybe read this article and follow this person on Instagram because they're they were part of making the vaccines, or just all this stuff. And I I was about to push send, and I stopped, and I just deleted the whole thing, and I just put, I'm going to pray for you. And I pray that God really makes it super clear to you and that you have peace about it.
Right.
And she was like, oh, wow. Okay, thanks. That's really good. And so I think that really has become my new stance on the vaccine. I pray for you. I pray you personally have peace about it. if you don't have peace about it yet, I just start praying that you do have peace about it, and remember that it's personal peace. It's not peace for your whole community. It's like you
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
personally, maybe your family, your, your spouse or something like that. But I really do think this is a very personal issue. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no,
We
I
didn't
think you
talk about
nailed
this
it a couple
beforehand.
of times. I think you nailed it a couple of times because there can be stumbling blocks in the way of people getting to our Lord, and yeah, it's almost beginning with the end in mind. Like we want to get people to Jesus, and we don't want any
Mm-hmm.
stumbling blocks in the way. So whether that is politics or something like the vaccine or you know, culture, like you name it, like a lot of things can be in the way. So if that's literally the one thing in their way, like I think it's our job to do our best to help them through that, to go through that process so that they can find their conviction on it and move forward. But at the same time, like we don't want to put that in a way and make that a big deal that their view on it don't line up with ours. So I love what you said about yeah, keeping the big picture in mind and not, you know, letting that be a stumbling block, because I think there's a lot of truth to that. And yeah, I think just remembering that God truly is in control, you know, and that he's faithful. I don't think if you got it and something happened, like God protect you from it. Like I believe with all my heart, you know. And if you didn't get the
Yeah.
vaccine and there's a big pandemic going on, could God protect you from it? Like I believe with all my heart, you know, both ways. So
Yeah.
I think perspective is going to be key, just moving forward for believers and non-believers alike.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said there at the end, just that do you believe God can protect you?
Right.
Either way.
Right.
I think for like our extra anxiety warriors out there who like making decisions is very hard for them. Like
Hmm.
once I made my pro con list, I was good, you guys. Like, because I'm
That
very
helped. It was
definitive.
written
I'm
out.
like,
You seen it. That was it, right?
boom, done. Uh, but but I know that there's a lot of people that do struggle. Like, did I make the right decision? Well, you have real comfort in scripture as well. You know, that even if you made the wrong decision, like
Hmm.
your days are numbered by the Lord. And there's like no way that that number can be less or more than the days that he already set
Ooh,
before you. So
ooh.
like, do not feel like this is going to be the end all. And if that you might make the wrong decision and it's just going to be detrimental to your future. So
Hmm.
just be comforted in that way.
That's
And
good.
um, yeah, we're just gonna like the dude in the grocery store today. And we had a nice little chat about it, and I think it was hopefully encouraging to him. But I do think as believers, we have an opportunity here to point people to Jesus because he is the ultimate vaccine. Oh, yeah, I said it.
You did it, Abby. You
So
did it. We just cut over to the crazy, what do you call it? Cheesy Christian mode right there, man. We did it.
I know. I've like not used that one in public, you guys. So I don't recommend it. I mean, you can, but let us know how it went. If you use that line in public, please let us know at
Yeah.
info@intotheharvest.org. We want to hear all your thoughts on today's episode. We had a
That's
great
good.
time with you guys. Hopefully, Andrew will be back next time to keep us
Yeah.
in line. But until then, we hope you have a great week. Bye.
See you guys.